All right, looks like we did get that pullback I was warning about in yesterday's video. We had some bearish signs on the chart, such as regular RSI bearish divergences coming in. You can see 4 taps of this trend on that hourly bear div. High probability we were going to have the pullback, and we did in fact do just that, sweeping these lows down here on open interest decreasing. As you can see, open interest comes down when we do fall here on price, showing that it is just a long squeeze. This is not big selling pressure, which is a good thing to see. And what's real nice is that when we did come down here, we found nice support within these single prints, filling those imbalances on the chart, and now coming back up does confirm somewhat of a swing failure pattern. For this to be valid, we just need to hold the golden pocket, and I do think there's a good chance this becomes the low, right? We could hold this golden pocket and just continue the rally on up. We still have the trend of higher lows on the macro, and I would not fade Bitcoin in thinking that it would not just continue to pump on up to go ahead and grab this liquidity all the way up here at all-time highs. This golden pocket that we had just pulled on Trading Light also aligns with your 4-month point of control. So we have this point of control right here coming across. That does align great with that level. So potentially, yeah, that's where we're going to find support. And this becomes the new low for the continuation on up to all-time highs when we do finally squeeze up in there and have this big altcoin season. But there is something else to be watching out for that could signal we don't necessarily hold this, and we could go a little bit lower, maybe tap some of these value area highs of our previous ranges. And the thing that is telling me that is, of course, your CME gap that we still have down here just below the golden pocket on the macro time frame, right from swing low, swing high up here. We still have this CME gap, this futures gap from this weekend. So potentially coming down to fill that would make a lot of sense before continuing on up higher. And then I'll also throw out the scenario we could go ahead and test this other golden pocket and CME gap down at around $60,000, taken from our macro range low to range high. This is kind of what I would expect for a worst case bullish scenario where we could go back test that before continuing on up to all-time highs. But as we've been talking about, Bitcoin is in honey badger mode. These higher lows I do expect to continue, and I do expect us to either hold right here or potentially just a retest of that top side CME gap before the inevitable liquidity hunt to all-time highs. Just so you're aware though, we didn't only have those RSI bear divs on the hourly time frames, we also have this on the daily time frame, 12-hour time frame, much more drastic as well. And these daily divergences can signal big moves, such as this daily bull div we had here at the lows, higher lows on RSI, lower lows on price. Now we're seeing higher highs on price, lower lows on the RSI. Could signal a reversal of this trend for that macro double bottom CME gap fill at the lows. Just want to throw that out there. That is something we have on the charts that could signal that larger pullback. Structurally though, as I just mentioned, I think Bitcoin is going to continue the impulsive move and for us to just squeeze on up to all-time highs. Now let's jump out here to the weekly time frame, because we are seeing some interesting stuff on the charts when it comes to that. We had the trend of lower highs on RSI within here, and we are bouncing right up against this trend once again. And what we want to see here is if we can flip this into support. If Bitcoin can break through this trend, that could signal something extremely bullish. But at the same time, we also have to keep in mind that this could play out more like this, right? You take the trend just from these 2 highs that we had back in March on your relative strength index, and that would still be extremely valid for another tap on this macro bearish divergence that could signal a macro top in Bitcoin. These weekly bear divs do sometimes signal macro tops on the chart, so we got to be watching this carefully. And if we were to come up to all-time highs, this is a scenario, right? This is my base case where we could go ahead and tap this, keep that weekly RSI bear div, and that could signal a macro top on Bitcoin. And this is something we will absolutely be keeping our eye on here on the channel, because I am currently of the opinion that retail is about to get wrong-footed. When we do go into price discovery for Bitcoin, I do believe it's going to be either a deviation or swing failure pattern up above those all-time highs, getting us back within the range, signaling it into the bull market. And I do expect this to happen within 2024, around when the Federal Reserve does start their rate cutting cycle. Speaking of those U.S. federal funds rate. The FOMC will have their meeting this month on July 31st. That is this Wednesday, where we should get a confirmation if they are going to cut in September or not. And I think on that confirmation is where the market is going to start going parabolic, because the market's going to start pricing in what people think is bullish. And then, of course, historically, we do know that those rate cuts do mark macro tops in the market, acting as exit liquidity. And I normally do host a live stream on these FOMC statements, so I will probably be doing that again. So expect me to be live in your feed on Wednesday. Make sure to stop by and check out that stream, ask any questions you got during that. And as far as that meeting goes, is there a chance they actually cut this month in July and it's not even pushed out till September? And well, the prediction markets have priced in that it is a 96% chance that they will stay paused. So I don't really think there's any chance we're going to be seeing a rate cut in the next 2 days. But if that were to happen, that would actually be a pretty bearish sign, because they are cutting to fix something in the economy that is broken. So if they're cutting sooner than the markets predict, that is a very bad signal. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But so far, so good. It does look like they're going to keep that at around September timeframe. So we'll be able to ride that euphoria into the rate cuts and then be able to sell into retail when it actually does get closer to that month, depending on what the charts are telling us. Let's talk about some other charts. The ETH Bitcoin chart has definitely flipped bullish. This is something I had kind of expected. I front ran it with a long that I placed on Ethereum at the lows that I'm still in right now. And it does look like we're coming back up to test this golden pocket. So we'll see if this does flip into resistance, or if we can flip it into support. I expect the latter. I do think we're going to have a continuation up here on Ethereum versus Bitcoin as Ethereum starts hunting for all-time highs, which I do believe are very likely to get broken within the next couple months here. And of course, assuming Ethereum can do this, you're going to see the altcoin market start going crazy. We are seeing a total 3 start holding these volume levels as support, inherently making Bitcoin dominance go down, which we are starting to see a little bit with that Ethereum dominance coming up here. So let's see if we can get a continuation to the downside here on the Bitcoin dominance. So far we have flipped bullish on this chart though, so we really need to see a deviation back within and then a continuation down for me to be confident that the altcoins are going to outperform. But assuming it is Wyckoff upthrust after distribution for Bitcoin, Bitcoin doesn't have many gains left, whereas the altcoin market should actually have an entire secondary parabola to what they had at the beginning of this year if my thesis is to go to plan. And even with the mainstream thesis of Bitcoin is just going to perform its 4-year cycle into 2025, this is the time in the market that altcoins should start massively outperforming Bitcoin. So I think in all scenarios here, Bitcoin should start falling. We should turn this into a deviation, and we should see the altcoin markets have their epic rally in these final phases here. And not too much to talk about when it does come to traditional finance, such as the S&P, but because the markets are not open and we do have some interesting stuff here on the dollar, I thought I would cover that. We did see a breakout of this level we wanted to hold as resistance. So this is not great to see, but Bitcoin hasn't really respected it too much. I think, even if the dollar were to continue up here, we have dollar milkshake theory, as well as back in 2000 during the dot-com bubble, the dollar actually ran with risk on assets. And if we are going to have the dot-com bubble for crypto this year, which I do believe is a very likely outcome, why wouldn't the dollar go up with crypto once again? So it's all about correlation. If we continue to see the dollar rising here and Bitcoin rises, well, then we don't really have to worry about the dollar, but I would want confirmation of that. So far, I would say this is something to be watching out for. Let's see if the dollar can flip back under this volume level and actually get back under and start hunting for these lower levels to signal bullishness for Bitcoin, or let's just watch to see if Bitcoin continues to show strength while the dollar shows strength, which could signal more of a dollar milkshake hypothesis playing out. But yeah, essentially the charts are looking a lot more bullish than they did in yesterday's video. I was kind of worried we were going to have a pullback here, and now that we have gotten that pullback on this open interest decrease, this is a bullish flush of liquidity, and it could have already played out. We still got the CME gaps to the downside, but besides that, structurally, it makes sense to kind of just hold this level and for Bitcoin to continue on up here, hunting this top side liquidity with haste. So if you have any questions about anything I talked about, or just want to join the community for this channel, link to my Discord is in the description down below, and below that link is my Crypto Eagles VIP. That is my premium Discord if you do want to learn about leveraged trading and get a ton of value that I'm trying to provide for a discounted cost. For a limited time, it's 50% off using code EARLY, only $20 a month for the next 3 months if you do use that code. So go ahead, click on that link, read more about it to decide if it's worth your money or not. And then also below the Discord links, there are links to my exchange partner BingX, and there's also a limited time event going on there to earn some awesome rewards such as deposit bonuses up to $7,300. So don't miss out on that. Go ahead, use my affiliate link and then use that event link, and you will be registered to go ahead and earn yourself some free money. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.